So, we're going to talk about business coaching today, but a quick introduction. So Harold and I were classmates many years ago, drinking buddies at times, and then after we graduated, we both took our own paths, like most of you. All mechanical engineers, I assume, but many of you don't do the same job as the other person. So 40 years later, Harold's in consulting, I was in systems manufacturing, and I got into business coaching. So it's an amazing path of what's the experience. The purpose of the presentation tonight is to inform and educate you what is business coaching. In this country, business coaching is not really understood, and I'll show you statistics. We're going to tell you how it works and how it can be of benefit to engineers in your work environment. Also, business coaching could be an additional career tool for your personal development. And finally, as in my case, as a post-retirement professional career, coaching is a very, very interesting space to be in. So, as I said, Harold has incorporated business coaching into his ongoing consulting practice, whilst in my case, I've retired and I've made business coaching my new profession. So with that, and then basically last point, coaching is an art and a science. It's not a DIY approach to things, and hence the necessity to be accredited and not just to be a fly-by-night. But there's an art and science behind coaching, and we're hoping that tonight you'll understand a little bit of that and have insight to it. So with that, that's the agenda. Harold is going to spend 20 minutes talking about why coaching and its benefits, and he'll give some personal reflections on that. Then I will give a 20-minute presentation on the mechanics of coaching. What is coaching? How does it work? You'll understand that part, and then some personal reflections as well. And then we'll go into a Q&A session, and then finally conclusion, which Harold will wrap up. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Harold to take the lectern. Over to you.
I don't know where he gets this retirement from. I don't think I'm old enough to retire. But anyway, I'd like to ask a question. How many of you, or should I say, just put your hand up if you feel that you're working to your full potential, to your optimum potential at work? So there's not many. Well, either we're very shy, or there's not many of us who are. So what stops us from getting to our full potential?
Ignorance, fear.
Ignorance, fear.
Square peg, round hole.
It's interesting. So quite a lot of what you're mentioning it's inside us. It's not what's happening outside us. And that's a lot of what coaching is about. And I'll come back to that. I'd like to just go back a few years to 1976. Some of us were studying, some of us had finished studying, some of us, I see, weren't born yet. So there was a gentleman who was coaching tennis called Timothy Galway, and he introduced a different way of coaching, which was revolutionary in those days. Instead of concentrating on technique, he started looking at how people's minds work in the coaching, in the game. And he had a lot of success with it, and later on introduced it into the corporate world and wrote another book called The Inner Game of Work. One of his students was a gentleman called John Whitmore, who later became Sir John Whitmore, and Sir John Whitmore is one of the gurus of coaching in the world today. Well, it's the late Sir John Whitmore. And If you have a business coach and he hasn't heard of Sir John Whitmore, I suggest you get another business coach. Between them, they came up with a simple formula to describe performance. And they wrote, performance is potential minus interference. And what they're saying is, you have a certain amount of potential, and the reason why your performance isn't hitting that potential is because there's things interfering. And interestingly enough, if we look at what is interfering, you mentioned fear, so there's fear of failure. We're too scared to try something because we're scared we are going to fail. And we were talking earlier about failure and trying to see failure as a step towards success. But unfortunately, we are ingrained with a perception of failure that doesn't easily allow you to do that. One of the things Timothy Galway talks a lot about is self-judgment. And sometimes when you watch people playing tennis, if you watch people on TV, you'll see some of them, like Roger Federer, when they make a mistake, just don't react at all. It's kind of like, I've just made a mistake. Others start recriminating themselves, cursing themselves, throwing their racket, and that actually interferes with their game. And what Timothy Galway found was that actually we do that at work as well. When things go wrong, we start criticizing ourselves. And we are bigger self-critics than other people are critics of us. And unrealistic goals. I want to achieve something tomorrow, but if I look at it realistic, it's going to take me a year to achieve it. So it could be a promotion, it could be a project. You want to just some seats here if you want. I'm on camera now. But if you look at the B side of the formula, it talks about almost the opposite of what's on the I side. So instead of self-judgment, it's non-judgment. Mistake happens. You don't have to judge on it. Being self-aware, being aware of where you are and how you relate to your surrounding and how you relate to other people. Trusting yourself to be able to do things. Curiosity. Being curious about things, about what happens if you try this, experimenting different things, and then realistic goals. So that's the way they defined it, and they found that that is true for most people. And from your expressions, I can see there's not too much disagreement about that. The next question I have is, how do you know you are reaching your full potential? How would you know?
You're enjoying what you're doing.
Are you feel,
Enjoying what you're doing?
and you feel fulfilled?
You feel fulfilled?
Yeah.
Inner peace.
Yeah, in a place.
Say that again, sorry.
Inner peace.
Inner peace.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say inner peace,
Yeah, because most of the time you want to achieve some stuff, but you trouble inside until you. Some of us are like that. If you don't get to where you're going, you just find you trouble inside. So that answers is inner peace. You have of peace. You are comfortable.
You're comfortable with your decisions, basically.
yeah. Well, you're actually very close to what I'm going to say next. I want to quote another gentleman, and I'll call him Mr. Unpronounceable if you don't mind. I can't say that name at all. And he talks about a condition where you're in flow. He says when you're in flow, there's a few things that happen. And this graph illustrates what happens with flow. We have a certain level of capability or skill to do certain things. And on that axis we have a degree of challenge. And what he says is that if the degree of challenge is higher than your level of skill or capability, you're going to suffer anxiety. And that's just what you were saying. You want to do something, but you can't get there because you just don't have the skills to do it. And it may not be a technical skill, it may be a personal skill or a skill that you have to relate to people. On the other side, he says, if you've got a high skill and your challenge is low, then you're going to get bored. You're going to get bored. And in fact, either of these leads to stress inside a person. So if you can reach flow, you're at inner peace, if you like. That was a good way to put it, actually. So what are the characteristics of flow? They do take a lot from sportsmen, but it applies to us at work as well. So the first characteristics of flow, when you see someone in flow, is that they are focused on one or two things. They're not trying different things from here and there and everywhere. They're focused just on the job at hand. Second thing we see is that action and awareness merge. So my mind isn't somewhere else and I'm doing something here. I'm actually fully in sync with what I'm doing at the time. Not worried about failure. Like we mentioned failure earlier, but if something doesn't work out, it's not stressing you out. You're not getting worried that you're not going to be able to achieve something. Self-consciousness disappears. I'm not worried what people think of me because I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm working at the right pace. Time becomes distorted. If you're really immersed in something and you're enjoying it, sometimes 3 minutes can feel like 3 hours, or the other way around, 3 hours can feel like 3 minutes. So you're not watching your watches to see what time things will end. And then they describe autotelic. It's where what you're doing at the moment just becomes something to be desired. Or if I read this because it's a little bit small, a happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell too much on the future. So just getting on with the job. So that's 6 conditions of flow that one has. When I was a young manager at Otis, I had a guy, Henry, work for me. Now, Henry was the best machinist I've ever had. He used to, when he was working on his machine, you could see flow. He would just be totally concentrated, and no one was allowed to touch his machine. Other artisans wanted someone to clean their machines for them. He just did his own machine. And guess who got the most difficult work? Henry did. Because he did it quicker than anyone else. He was fully concentrated and he thoroughly enjoyed his work. The problem with Henry I had was that I wish I could chain him to the machine. Because when he got out of work, suddenly, if I can just go back to this, suddenly he entered those 2 areas there. His family life was in a mess. He drank too much. He did everything wrong. And he actually left me to go to jail. So your flow, you need to have flow for all different aspects, from business, for people that you relate with, and your personal life. And Alberto will talk more about the 3 aspects in his presentation just now. So that's the 6 elements of being in flow. And that's what we try and achieve. And to achieve that, you need some conditions. So the first one is you need clear goals every step of the way. You need to see exactly how far you are. And I've no doubt you've heard about SMART goals. And the bad news is that when you do coaching, coaches also talk about SMART goals, hammer on about it. It's a concept that's been proven, but if you don't have goals along the way, if you don't have clear goals, there's no way you can get into flow because you don't know where you're going. Second thing you need is immediate feedback. Now, feedback can be from people around you, or feedback can be a mechanical feedback, something like a sound, or it can be a measure. So you can measure where you are at that moment. And the third is balance between the skills and the challenges which we discussed earlier. So if you've got those three in place, you can get to flow. Now the reason I've told you this is because when we do coaching, we try and help someone to achieve that flow. To become better at what they're doing, either by gaining skills or by bringing out skills that they already have, which happens a lot in the coaching session. So what do we do as coaches? One of the competencies that we talk about in the International Coach Federation, to which we are accredited, they talk about co-creating. Instead of telling you what to do, we co-create. I get out of you what you would like to do, what goals you would like to set, and why they're important to you. So, a coach will work with you to get those goals. A coach listens actively, as we call it. He's a sounding board and listens actively. And by active listening, it's not what I tell my wife when she's talking to me and I say, yes, dear. That's not active listening. Active listening means you can see that I'm listening by my facial expression and my body language, and I can relate back to you in summary form what you've been talking about. And it's quite a skill to obtain. There's not many people who can do it well. When you're at work, your subordinates or employees very seldom tell you what they really think about what you're doing. They're very seldom honest with you. Your colleagues are very seldom honest with you because they don't want to rock the boat. Even your boss doesn't always tell you because he doesn't want to upset you too much. And guess what? Not even your family is completely honest with you. When you have a coaching relationship, the coach should have no vested interest, and they can be honest with you and tell you what they think of what you're doing. And they can point out things that you're doing wrong that other people won't. One of the other competencies in the ICF is what they call powerful questions. Asking you questions to create awareness and to shift your perception about things. So it's an insightful question that moves you forward. Because sometimes we get into a rut, our thought patterns get into a rut that we think that this is the way it is and we can't change it. So with the help of a few questions, you can change that around completely. Notice that we say you don't justify yourself. So a lot of the questions are how and what. Right? How do you get to that? What do you think of this? But we don't ask why. Because if I ask you why, you feel the need to actually justify yourself. And if you have to justify yourself, to a coach, it can't really be a safe environment. So that's what we're looking for, is to create a safe environment where you can learn with the coach, you can say what you need to, and it's an honest interrelationship. But it's not a comfortable one, because you're changing, you're trying to get better, there has to be some discomfort somewhere along the way. So we've spoken about what interferes with our potential and why our performance is less than our potential. And most of us want to do better than where we are. And we've spoken about flow, what it takes to get into the flow. And when we do coaching, we go all the way back to Timothy Galway and John Whitmore, and the techniques that we learn is really to try and improve performance and improve flow. That's what we try and do with the coaching. Alberto will talk to you about how the coaching actually works and what it's about. So back to you, Alberto.
Thanks, Harold. So I'm going to talk about the mechanics of coaching. How does coaching actually work? When you're face-to-face to your coach, what actually happens? And specifically, as accredited coaches, we go through training. And this training takes you through a process which, like Harold said, looks at the person in a holistic way. And we're looking at business issues. This is not life coaching, it's business coaching. And in the business coaching approach, we're looking at, and you will see this, but I need to reiterate the importance of this, is the solutions that are required to try and get you, the coachee, to get your moment of awareness and move you along a path of flow is a 360-degree one. It involves business, it involves you, the person, and it involves other people. And I'll explain that. But that is, so business coaching and the studying of that coach, or becoming one of those, is a science. This is not a DIY approach to the latest fad, and it's tried and tested. So let's go a little bit backwards and let's get some definitions. This is coaching. These are textbook definitions, so I need to read them out verbatim. So, unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's a collaborative, solution-focused, result-orientated and systematic process in which the coach facilitates the enhancement of work performance, life experience, self-directed learning and personal growth. Can you see the three-dimensional part there? It's a professional partnership between a qualified coach and an individual or team that support the achievement of extraordinary results based on goals set by the individual or the team. Coaching is about developing a person's skills and knowledge so that their job performance improves, hopefully leading to the achievement of organizational objectives. It targets high performance and improvement at work, although it may also have an impact on an individual's private life. Can't leave out the person. Coaching is about enabling individuals to make conscious decisions and empowering them to become leaders in their own lives. Coaching has become popular for several reasons. We live in an age of information. You have access to a lot of information, basically. And many people are tired of doing what they think they should do, and they are ready to do what they want to do. And understanding that they have a choice. And hence they turn to a coach because they want to achieve something which might be difficult to achieve by myself. Again, in this age of technology, people are realizing that it's quite simple to accomplish something that several years ago might have felt out of reach. And so more people are creating the time and the resources to invest in themselves in this kind of growth as they see the long-term benefits. We're becoming, we live in a world where we have so much stimulus. We can become authors of our own destiny. We literally have the information at our tools. But sometimes that coach is that person that can put it together for you, because on your own, it can be a struggle. Spirituality, this is not religion, but our society is looking for deeper meaning in our lives and work. We live in a complex world. Just look at the environment, pollution, the world, the earth. And companies are looking for innovative ways of growing themselves from the inside out, starting with themselves and the employees. So the soft side of life. And even in engineering. Engineering is a 360-degree approach to things. It's got to be sustainability. You can't design something that's going to pollute the rest of the earth. You've got to think reverse. How do I produce this product so when it's finished its life, it actually comes back and it's a holistic, it's a continuum. Okay? As engineers, this is very important for us. We can't just design one direction. So, let's talk about, that was coaching. Let's talk about business coaching. The diagram on the left shows how coaching can go from personal, business, sport, and in fact, coaching, you can coach anybody in any field possible. We're talking about business, and business talks about focus on NGOs, on business owners, government, entrepreneurs, and corporate. That is the domain in business. And the graph and the picture on the right just shows the complexity of that increases as we go from NGOs over to corporate. So the business coach has got to look at these different realities and talk to them, cognizant of the complexities. Please don't try to read that, but that shows you the areas that you can go into business coaching, from management to sales to employee relationships, goal setting. And as coaches, we all tend to then specialize in specific niches, because after 40 years or whatever it is, you've done a certain life, you become quite good at certain things, and you start niching yourself. But it's a huge field. Again, let's look at what coaching is with respect to mentoring, consulting, advising, and training. Coaching is not any of those. Coaching does not substitute training. It does not substitute consulting. It is not mentoring. You need consulting, expert advice, you go pay for it, they give it to you, they walk away, you've got the job done. Training, you do the training, you need the training, you need the education. Coaching is a science on its own. Coaching is a two-way process. Mentoring is a one-way process. Coaching is a two-way process where you, the coachee, gets an elevated approach to what you wanted to do. So it's an exponential approach. So business coaching is about coaching clients in the context of their business and work environment. Business coaches tend to be partners within the business, assisting the business owner to develop, grow, maximize their potential, and above all, leverage the business. Businesses exist to make money. It's not a philanthropic society. Clients approach business coaches for guidance, performance, profitability, feeling overwhelmed, stagnation, relationships. Can you see, it's not just about business. The stress in business often, I know it, it's about people. People and their attitudes, up above you and below you and yourself. Often that is the biggest problem, your own limiting belief system, not the technology side. It is a solutions-focused exercise looking forwards, not looking backwards. In therapy, one looks backwards, but in business coaching, you look forward. And it's about creating genuine well-being and exceptional success. Business coaching is about enhancing and maximizing one's personal competencies, and that can be defined as behavior, experience, ability, knowledge, and skills. I just thought I'd put up some of the more common reasons why corporate business feel the need to appoint a coach. And there are many more than these. But, for example, staff need to be assisted in their new positions. And managers don't have time to manage this person to do their job properly. They know how to just get the end of the month stuff through, but this person needs to grow and get their potential, like Harold was saying. They use coaches for performance, both positive and negative. Sometimes there's a remedial need for coaching. You don't want to lose the person, and the person just needs to enhance their performance. They've got an issue. Managers are required to apply new thinking to old problems. New promotions need new skills. You need to fast track these people. In this country, we have an enormous need to fast track people. To reward an employee. Leadership positions need to talk to coaches about management and leadership to grow their departments and business units. These are not linear processes. They're non-linear. They involve complexities, and a coach is removed from the business, the politics, looks at you and helps you get through. But you're the expert. A coach is not a subject matter expert. He's not a subject matter expert. A coach does not need to know the solution. Often, the more experienced coachee, they've got all the experience they need. But when you put together the three-dimensional people and other people and business and technology and politics, it becomes a whirlwind. Just quickly some statistics. So the ICF, like Harold was saying, is one of the largest associations in the world. And in 2016 they did a global study. And I thought I'd like to show you. Their estimates are that in the world there's about 53,000 coaching practitioners. And you'll see that North America and Western Europe have got the highest number of coaches. These two areas understand coaching very well. Whereas Africa and Middle East, 2,400 coaches. People do not understand the value of coaching. I am absolutely convinced after 40 years of work in the engineering space that coaching is an amazing way to make a difference, especially in South Africa, where you have poor skills, poor training, lack of knowledge, young people are unemployed. There's an amazing job to be done here. And a coach can be that glue between what the schools and the training institutes need to do, what managers can't do, politics, can make that difference, uplifting communities. So coaching in South Africa, I believe, is an amazing way to make a difference. So these are statistics. It also shows managers who adopt coaching as a skill. So what we are talking about here is not just a coach coming to you to work, but you could, as a manager, as an engineer, could learn the art of coaching in the way you do everything you do. Typically, again, these are stats, positions held by clients who look at coaching of managers, executives, business entrepreneurs, personal clients, team leaders, staff members. This is very interesting. The question was, do you think coaching can influence social change? And 50% felt that to a large extent it is possible. And there's another statistic which shows developing countries like Latin America and Africa absolutely believe that coaching could influence social change. Very powerful. Right. So, how does a typical coaching session work? A coaching assignment is made up of various coaching sessions. So a coaching session is normally an hour, and in that hour, various aspects of your business are discussed and unpacked. Each session, importantly, concludes by setting focused goals and actions. Coaching is not a talk show. Coaching involves setting goals and actions, and you, the coachee, coming back, subsequent sessions, and following up. So, I'll talk about that. Coaching assignments can last between 6 to 12 sessions. So coach is not a permanent feature in one's life. Normally it goes in buckets of 6 to 12 sessions, and you unpack a situation, and then you go back and then you come back again at another stage. As accredited coaches from the SA Business Coaches, we follow a very structured process. And in the coaching session, we explain to the coachee what is coaching, like I'm doing now to you, the ethical guidelines and the professional standards that we follow, what is actually expected in our relationship, me the coach and you the coachee, what is the expectation between us. There's a framework and a methodology that I'm explaining to you right now that is employed, how, and you, the coach, you need to understand how I, Mr. Coach, do my job. And the number one is confidentiality. Nothing goes out of this room that's discussed. We also discuss the coaching agreement, where there's fees, there's rates, and the frequency and other clauses. So typically the first session is a scoping session. It's a bit of a longer session, and in that session we explore in detail the topic that you want to discuss. And ultimately you set, after some refinement of all the topics and understanding exactly what it is, because you might come there with wanting to do something, but actually after discussion say, but actually what I need to do is this. And then you set out a set of goals, and an action plan is put together. And then subsequent sessions review the actions that have been set out. And as human beings, we suddenly realize, you know what, I thought that, but in the next session, actually, you know what, I think we should modify the goal. And it's a fluid, ongoing, dynamic process of recalibrating the actions and the goals. You want, as you, the coachee, starts unfolding and understanding how you're going. Now, we as coaches, as part of our training, had to coach each other. And it's actually amazing how when I was being the coachee and I was being coached, I would pull out a subject which I knew I needed to do, and because I was being coached, I would actually do something that I thought of doing for a long, long time, but I just don't do it. The act of having a coach, another person looking at you and working with you, and of whom you trust as well, changes your approach and gives you that energy to do something that you've wanted to do but you don't do because you're too busy, whatever it is. We have a software tool. This is called a coaching canvas, and this typically is what happens at the end of a scoping session. The coach will design this canvas for you where there's a set of goals, there's strategies, there's milestones and actions. For every person is different, and then the person receives an email with this coaching canvas, and they can go and update and say, I'm at 20% or I'm at 30%, and me, the coachee, via email, I immediately receive the fact that you've done something. So there's a link, there's an electronic link between us, and by the time we get to the next session, I know that you are at 80% or whatever it is. And so we have an actual software tool that professionalizes our practices. Right, as Harold mentioned, as coaches, we need to understand fundamental competencies and follow behavioral standards. We typically follow the ICF and Commensa. Commensa is the local South African body of coaches. And then we also follow the SA Business Coaches standards. So what you saw in the previous slide is sort of repeated here. So if I can just go through this, the green boundary around the side is the business coaching framework methodology. It holds, it's the container. Along the top you have the various coaching competencies that we need to understand. It's ethical guidelines, understanding how to do the agreement and contracting, the coaching presence, that building of trust and intimacy between you and the coach. And then down on the left, what Harold was talking about, a coach has to know how to listen, how to ask powerful questions, and to give direct communication, the truth. I'm repeating what Harold said earlier on, because the fundamental objective of the coaching session is creating awareness, creating that awareness. That is the heart of what is happening. And that aha moment that you get as we go through this process of unpacking what you have in a 360-degree kind of way, which I'm going to show you now. And once we've done that, on the right-hand side, we can now start designing actions, planning and setting goals, and then as a coach, you're managing the... Sorry, I just need to see... Go. You're managing the process. So the methodology and framework that's used by SA Business Coaches is called DIATAR, which stands for, at the top there, which stands for Diagnose, Identify, Test, Apply and Review. That's the framework that's used. It's a little bit like the equality circles, the PDCA, plan, do, check, act, the iterative process. This is the same kind of thing. Diagnose, identify, test, apply, and review. And then BOP stands for business, other people, and personal, which is the methodology. So in the coaching discussion, the coach picks up where we're going. Now, it can be in three areas, either in business, other people, or personal. And depending on which of those three the coach is sensing the discussion going, he or she will go in and test and then apply and then go through a whole review process to unpack carefully what it is. So, in these three areas, business, other people, and personal, can you see the layers that are sitting there? So as a coach, under business, there are 7 layers. There's, I can't read, there's checklists, processes and systems, people competencies, business models, internal and external environment, strategy. Any of those could be areas that are involved, that you're looking at issues in your business. Under other people, you have internal people, external people. These could be, internal could be family, departments, your peers. External could be suppliers, could be clients. Okay. And then under personal, you have areas there as well. I can't read. You got personality, values, beliefs, strategies, emotions. Okay. So under business, these are tools that we use to drive the discussion. Value chain discussions. People competency discussions. Strategy discussions. Then you have the psychology of business coaching, especially in the people side of things. There's human behavior that is involved. And human behavior can involve conflict management, emotional displays, passive-aggressive behavior, obsessive-compulsive behavior, perfectionism, maximizing and minimizing. These are all behaviors that we have that interfere in our jobs. We as coaches can use personality assessment tools. And also then, depending on whether the client is an NGO or business owner or government or entrepreneur or corporate client, these business areas have different characteristics. A business owner has got a different emotional setup to, let's say, a government employee or a corporate highly stressed employee. So a business coach needs to understand the different environments and the psychology in these different environments. Right, so that was it in terms of business coaching. There's lots more, but we can go in the question and answer session. I just want to give you some personal reflections on why, for example, why did I go into coaching? Why did I look at coaching as a possible career? Well, 3 years ago, yes, I worked for Ultra Bytes, and I was asked to do a coaching and mentoring course to manage new interns that joined our department. We needed to fast track these interns. These interns had degrees, had done maybe 1 or 2 years of work, but we didn't want them to come in and fall asleep on the job because the manager is too busy. So I've been in sales and business development for the last 15 years, and so I coached a colleague who was going to take that kind of job as well. And I realized after I did that course that this is something that fascinated me, and because I was due for retirement, I saw this as my next potential career. I was too young to retire. I agree with Harold, and I worked for corporate. Corporate says that 63, 64, you've got to go. Whether you're good or not, you've got to go. And I saw this newfound passion in coaching, and for the older guys, just think about this. Coaching, I saw coaching as a way to earn money, good money, at my own time, and in other words, do what you love and make money out of it. I mean, isn't that perfect? So for me, coaching became my new mantra, and I started looking for a coaching school. I looked at BITS, UCT, GEBS, most of them. But they all focus on executive coaching, life coaching, big kind of stuff. And then between Harold and myself, we found SA Business Coaches, and they specialize in business coaching per se. It includes executive coaching, but it had a science around the thing of business. And hence it was a 6-month accreditation course, and it changed and synthesized 40 years of experience into a structured way of talking to somebody and trying to get this two-way relationship and get them to maximize their potential. So I spent time doing internal coaching. I had an amazing experience with Redefine. They went on an innovation challenge, and hundreds of people put in good ideas, and the top 15 were selected. And both myself and Harold were selected to coach and mentor each of the, so the top 15 each had one coach to look after them, and Harold had one, I had one, and the prize was for $1 million. And in fact, both of us got our coachees up to the top 5, and very close to the top. They didn't win, but I had a 19-year-old guy from Rustenburg, second year after college, studying university, studying business entrepreneurship. I had tears in my eyes watching this guy. He had this brilliant idea, and he then had to present this idea to a team of people, and the prize was $1 million. And so you had to get this person to turn that idea into a crisp and concise package and present it, put numbers to it, and we had 3 weeks to do this. By himself or herself, they would not have been able to do this exercise. But together with the various coaches and mentors that were there, everybody did amazing. But my particular, for me, it was just an amazing experience to watch this guy stand up there and talk like an amazing, eloquent person, and just expound his ideas and impress everybody. So when you love coaching and you see the results, it's fascinating. I almost get a kick out of it, even though it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. You've got to give a lot. But if you love what you're doing, the giving becomes less difficult. For example, I was coaching a young entrepreneur who wants to start an IT business. And he's got family who's holding him back. They don't want him to go and start. And they've got other things, other ideas for him. And so as a business coach, you look at these 3 areas: business, other people, and personal. And his own limiting belief. No, you can't do something. Why can't you do something? And you work through this, and you get this guy out of his shell. By himself, this person will not do what he can do. But with a coach, and not because the coach does it all. The person gets a self-esteem, and actually the person does it, not the coach, but the coach facilitates. Right, so my personal space that I'm going into is sales and business, and I love the area of developing SMEs, especially in the supply development and localization. I worked in a large company where we had to, when you got a government contract, you had to give 20% of the way away to an SME. BE company, and often you go and choose these companies and you don't know what they're doing. I, as a coach, what I'm trying to say is, I will make sure that person in that SME I can guarantee the investment that the corporate is doing in these SMEs, and coach these companies to grow and be aligned to the corporate company. I love community projects. I've been involved for many years in policing forums at a management level, and I've worked in communities, and I really look at the terrible job situation we have in developing young entrepreneurs. And I really believe, as a coach, It's the one way to get people. You give them training, you give them money, you give them resources, but if they don't have that coach that puts them together and follows them through, how often do these projects just fail? I mean, the money gets blown away, the people fall apart, and there's nobody that's looking after the situation. And so for me, it's a passion. Right, I'm going to stop there. I had another slide about manufacturing operations management. I think it's too much. This is a tool that I would use. I've been in systems for many, many years, and I believe I could help people in the area of manufacturing systems. I'm going to stop there because I think I've done my time, and I think we should move to question and answer. Over to you.
Okay, Alberto, can you just rephrase, what's the difference between mentoring and coaching?
Coaching. So mentoring would be, I give you my wisdom, my experience, and but it's I tell you stuff that you might ask for advice, and I'm saying, I think you should do this. It's almost like, I think you should do this. I think you should do this. I'll hear you out. Coaching is I don't tell you what I want, what you should do. I listen to you first, and we go through a process of engagement, and ultimately you work out what it is that you want to do. Okay. Harold, maybe
There's a lot of differing views on it, because the other day I spoke to someone and they said no, they understood it the other way around. So I don't get too fussed on the definition. I think both are important, so if you could mix the two, that's fine.
Do you need to have a business in place before you can take advantage of the coach's input, or can you use the coach to get to that as a goal?
Well, I mean, I'm busy coaching a young guy who wants to start his own transport business. So he hasn't got it. He's living at home. He's a young entrepreneur. He's had some experience, and so he wants to get there. So there's your answer. And I'm helping him say, okay, so let's understand the business side of it, your personal side of it, and the other people's side. You're going to need clients, you're going to need suppliers, and I help them. A business coach will help you set up your business.
Yeah. I think it's so important.
It is.
How you set up the business in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's going to determine pace and flavor later down the line.
Yes, sir.
I get the sense that business coaching and management consultancy are two different things. But how do they differ, and what different results do they go for?
Harold, you're a consultant. Can you answer that one?
Well, if I'm a consultant, I come and work with you, I look at what you're doing, and at the end I give you recommendations which you can take or not take. The coaching is more of a two-way process where it's called co-creation. So for the consulting, I'll give you the recommendations. For business coaching, I'll pull them out of you, if you like. That's the main difference. A lot of consultants do coaching. Some of them do it well, some of them don't do it so well.
How does the rates work, and how do you charge clients? Is that on the hour? Is there a retainer?
So rates can go, you have executive coaching, corporate, high-level coaching. That can be...
But we normally charge per hour.
It's per hour, yeah.
And does that rate vary? I mean, like you're saying, a corporate person, obviously what he's going to get out of this is much more scale to a person starting out.
Yeah.
Do you tailor the rates?
Absolutely.
I don't like that word, tailor.
But you as a coach, in terms of your experience, and you might have a name for yourself. Highly experienced coaches can, at executive levels, can charge 5,000 Rand an hour. At an entrepreneur level, maybe 1,000 Rand an hour. But so depending on where you're going, but
you're going to make that money back.
But the cost, the return on investment of coaching is like 10 times. But and coaching is not every day, like once a week, once every 2 weeks. So you're paying that money, but it's over 6 sessions, and then you're running with that experience for months, and then you come back again. So it's a minimal investment for the return that you get.
Excuse me. From the business coaching angle, the types of business coaching, I know you go to offer consultancy, but there's a particular, on the list of non-governmental and non-profit organization. How do you work with non-profit organization? How do you get fine with them? How do you coach when you know they're not making profits? How do you?
Well, often what happens is, yes, 100%. But remember, NGOs are getting funded by somebody. So it could be an overseas company, it could be government. I mean, NGOs are ultimately funded from government. And you as a coach are helping them also develop a business plan to say, well, I want to do this. Let's give our funders a plan. And in that plan, you will be paid out of that plan. So, yes, I mean...
An NGO has goals like a business has. Really, the only difference is that they don't make a profit. But otherwise, the basics are the same. NGOs sometimes lack a bit of goals. Sometimes they can flounder a bit. In business, it's easy. We know what we're trying to make a profit with. In NGOs, sometimes it's more difficult. Often they need more coaching than a business. Does that answer the question?
Oh, it does.
There's one more there.
Sorry. There you go. We've had business coaches come into our company before. I didn't really feel comfortable kind of speaking to an individual that was kind of hired by my employer. Is it a confidential agreement that you have with the coach generally, or like what is that arrangement?
The arrangement that I would have, and most coaches should have, is that if we're in a coaching session, nobody else hears about it. So if you have a boss or an HR manager who wants to know what happened there, sorry, I'll describe the process, but what we spoke about is out of bounds. And that's right up front, we need to discuss that.
Okay.
I know there are some people who are very nosy what's happening in the session.
Especially if you've got a manager that's results driven.
Yes.
They want to have answers and solutions to that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very delicate thing, especially I've worked in corporate for many, many years, and the political aspects of why should I do something almost sometimes overshadow the objective. And as a coach, we need to be very cognizant of the fact that we might pick up conflict of interest. You might be actually wanting to leave the job, or you might be doing something that's unethical. So what does a coach do? I find out stuff. So it's not easy, but right up front, when the organization decides we're going to be coaching Dino and 5 other people, your colleagues, and here's the business coach, here's HR, here's the manager. In that discussion, the coach that's experienced will force the discussion so that you, Dino, will want to profit 100% from this coach and not from this coaching session, and not hold back because you don't trust the relationship. It's a very, very real problem, and a good business coach will know how to manage that, and because otherwise it's a pointless exercise.
Agreed.
Right, if there are any other questions, Alberto and Harold are available. They'll be having, joining us. Please feel free to get in touch with them directly and put the questions.
Should I have this one last question?
Okay, please.
So what I can see from what you're saying is that it's very different from engineering training in the sense of doing the maths and the science and the design and so on. This is much more wisdom, experience, EQ, people relationships, insight, and tapping into life expertise. Are there young people who can do this? Or is it by definition almost somebody who's seen some of the world and helping people who've seen maybe less of that and passing on some of that insight.
So
That's a really good question, because you'll find a lot of life coaches, as they call them, are young people. A lot of coaches in industry are old people because they have the experience. And it's just gone that way. But there's nothing stopping a young person from coaching. Was that your question?
No, not really. It was just to try and get an insight, because I would imagine that the older people have a lot more to offer in this deep pool of experience and has seen all the weird things that happen in life and can interpret it a little bit better than people who've just got it out of the latest MBA book.
Yeah, because the weird things in life are part of those interferences, as they sit in the mind. Yeah.
So in that ICF global study, I literally I took off that slide, but it showed the bell curve of the age, of typical age of coaches, and the bell shape was that it makes them around 45 to 55. So it is natural for people with experience to want to go in the area of coaching, yeah, I think there's passion behind coaching. It's not just let me study coaching and then just do it. I don't think it's open for everybody. There's not something everybody wants to do. There's a lot of give, and if you aren't built for that, it's going to drain you. But coming back. Yeah.
Sorry, Graham, before you do another question, I'll just do a quick advertisement. Yeah. There's a thing called LeaderX, which is happening Tuesday, Wednesday next week. And there's going to be 50 coaches there. You can get 20 minutes of free coaching if you go to there. You can pre-register if you do it tomorrow for free, and you'll get a free coaching session. So you can go and get a taste of what coaching is about for free at the LeaderX. There's a lot of other things happening at LeaderX as well.
Okay, if you could just leave that on in case people want to make a note of it. But if I could ask our Central Branch chairperson, Portia, to thank you and give you a gift for your presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, guys. How are you guys? So Nisan is going to help me with a thank you. And yeah.
Alberto, it's been wonderful listening to you, your coaching. I mean, the presentation itself was wonderful. I'm sure everyone else going back home will actually sit back, reflect in terms of what coaching is about. And actually, from my personal experience, I think we got to the coaching. And on behalf of everyone else and the Central Branch, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Alright guys, thank you guys for attending. Please, if you have any comments on this new direction SAIMechE is trying to go in, bringing different industries to come and do presentation, please email admin@saimeche.org.za, and we'd love to get your feedback on all that we're doing. Please join us for dinner and drinks. Thank you guys.
Thanks very much.